Welcome to the Dump and Chase podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Robillard. With me today, I have Dylan Forsyth to my right, and as well, Cale Hayes to my left. Before we get into the show, make sure to follow us on all of our socials. They will be in the description. We are on all of the platforms that you find your podcasts. Make sure to check us out. All right, to kick off the show, I want to talk about Quinn Hughes a little bit. We mentioned him a couple podcasts, but he's been really effective for the Canucks, but he's also nursing looks to be an extreme hand injury. I'm not sure if it's broken or what's going on, but as we get into more Canucks stuff, thoughts on Quinn Hughes and his play as of late with a serious-looking injury here, Hayes?
I think he's more heartbroken because the team's falling apart, to be honest. Like, I haven't seen him labor his hand, but I would take his word for it, I guess. But if he is, that team has just taken quite a tumble. And, oh yeah, that's taped up pretty good. Probably a couple fingers in there. Yeah, no. If he's hurt and Miller and Pettersson are getting traded, which has been rumored that both of them might be gone now, I don't even know what to say. That team is just in for nothing good. Vancouver fans are just cursed. I don't know.
I really want to know if it will reach a breaking point. There's been rumors and reports that, like, if Pettersson and Miller both walk, it's questionable that Quinn Hughes stays for much longer.
Oh, I would leave.
And even Demko. Like, this could get really ugly really quick if they don't figure this out. Dylan, your thoughts?
I hope they personally go out because, I mean, obviously we'll talk about them later, but the Anaheim Ducks are an absolute heater. Oh, my God. And Canucks, I think, the only team that I think can realistically stop them. But, I mean, I think I kind of have the pulled trade. Like, they almost pulled the trigger for Miller back to New York.
Yep.
And then Pettersson to Carolina. And obviously, we'll get into the whole Carolina situation later because it's crazy. It's crazy what happened, but,
yep.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I guess, we can get into the Canucks a little bit more. The rift, as we just mentioned, is starting to get bigger, and it's becoming more of a problem. The Canucks president, Jim Rutherford, has confirmed the rift between JT Miller and Ellias Pettersson. Quote, everyone has worked on it, including the parties involved, but it only gets resolved for a short period of time, and then it festers again. So it certainly appears like there's not a good solution that would keep this group together. Which is a real problem when you think about it. If both of them get moved or one or the other, that causes a problem. And then you effectively lose some of your top guys in the lineup, and that winning pedigree you have, or like your Stanley Cup champs ability goes away. Like, you lose that chance, and I don't think the Canucks fans really want to see that happen, but it's obviously reaching that point. And I've seen reports where I don't think Pettersson will get you a lot back anyways. I think it'll be similar to a Jack Eichel deal, where you get minimum back, and it's not the exact trade return you're looking for. Forsyth, your thoughts on the mix-up here?
It's just a crapshoot, I think, at this point. Like, you truly, like, obviously, I think we'll never really know what's going on. I think I've said it before. But I mean, if Rutherford says there's a rift, there's a rift. I mean, JT Miller, I think, is kind of growing that league issue where he's kind of a problem player. So, I mean, that obviously hampers his trade value. Like, I've seen trades, I mean, going back as the Avalanche, like Casey Middlestat, he's had an okay year. He had a really good start, rough finish, but I mean, he's been in trade talks. That's not really, I think, a JT Miller caliber player.
Yeah.
And obviously Ellias Pettersson, I mean, the Bar Down podcast said it best. He's struggled in the playoffs. I think there's still an injury going on with him. Like, you talk about Hughes, I think Pettersson's still dealing with that injury from last year. It's crazy to see a team fall apart like that. Yeah. From one win away from conference finals to below the Flames in a wild card race. Like, that is.
Yeah. Like, and you have to think about it too. Like, how long has this been really going on for? Like, what is the issue here? And, like, how long have they been sucking it up for? How long has this been an issue? Or what really set it off, like, to a breaking point?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like Vancouver's, like, they've had a very similar issue with this back in the early 2000s with Mark Messier. Like, you almost wonder if that's kind of like a similar thing going on. Like, maybe they're just trying to repress it this time because last time was, Mark Messier. If you asked a Vancouver fan, he is probably their least favorite player.
Yeah.
I think they might hate him more than you hate a certain Cutter Gauthier.
I don't hate Cutter Gauthier. I hate Eric Lindros. That's a player I hate. But we won't get into that, Cale Hayes.
Yeah, as a fan, watching all your top guys want out, that's got a sting. Like even Brock Besser's rumored to be leaving, which he was a key piece in that. So I think that team's playoff window, if they can't get it together, is just gradually closing, even quicker than anticipated. But yeah, like their trade value is going down because they're going out. Like you've heard the lowballing offers, just because it's easier to get guys when they want out. And yeah, Pettersson hasn't proven to be a playoff performer. I say JT Miller has more, almost like they have pretty similar trade value, just because JT Miller has that veteran playoff kind of performance, even though he's a shit disturber, but nothing you can really do about that personality if he wins you hockey games. So.
Yeah. Moving on here.
The elephant in the room, the big thing that happened.
Yeah.
Massive, you'd say.
The big trade between Colorado, Carolina, and Chicago, kind of off there in the corner. Colorado receives forwards Jack Drury and Martin Necas, along with a second-round pick in the 2025 NHL Draft and a fourth-round pick in the 2026 NHL Draft from Carolina. Chicago acquired a third-round pick in the 2025 Draft from Carolina. The Blackhawks retained 50% of Rantanen's $9.25 million salary as to why they get their own pick back, which is something I think is worth noting. Yeah, and obviously Carolina gets Mikko Rantanen from Colorado. So far, it's been a week or so we haven't seen too much of a difference in situations and how players are playing elsewhere now, but you can obviously see some pieces starting to come together, like Martin Necas had a good game the other night, and he's starting to click with his new teammates. Rantanen still trying to find his groove, but he's still had some point production already. And yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on the big trade here?
I think there's something I know Rantanen obviously came on and said he would have loved to sign in Colorado. I know there's obviously a rumor that they didn't want to sign anyone more than McKinnon's already making. And I think I'm going to go back to the Bar Down podcast. They said it best, like Colorado won a cup off of depth. I've seen a lot of Colorado games this year. They play McKinnon and Rantanen like first pair D-men. They run them to the ground. They need depth. I mean, Jack Drury's been incredible. He's two big goals for them. I mean, Islanders game kind of tough bounce, a few bad bounces there, a few bad draws, but he's been incredible depth-wise. They need that. They're awful at face-offs, and he does that. And Marty Necas, Makar, and McKinnon are the shiftiest players I think you can have. I mean, that New York game, he should have had 5 goals.
Yeah,
like it was absurd. And I think kind of obviously Chicago. I'll be jumping ahead, but I don't really get the trade. I guess you get rid of Taylor Hall.
Oh yes, they got rid of Taylor Hall.
But I mean, like, obviously retaining the salary is a little bit heavy, but I think that salary is still more useful than Seth Jones.
Yeah. Before I go to you, Hayes, yeah, like Chicago, they get some money off the books, but also retain. But like that's some key money down the line, getting Taylor Hall off the books. But yeah, since you mentioned it, I wanted to mention the pick they got back. I didn't think too much of it, but it is their own pick. So if they want to offer sheet someone or do something of that nature, they get to do that with their own pick now. And St. Louis did that when they had they offer sheeted Dylan Holloway and Broberg, right? Yeah, and they traded for their own pick back and then went out and did that. So I mean, if Chicago does something creative like that, then I see it. But like, what they also got back is not anything to send home about.
Well, I mean, you obviously kind of think like you know who the free agency this is. Like Mitch Marner could very well go. I mean, they were rumored to Kaprizov in two years, so maybe they're trying to make a push for that then. But I mean, now pretty much Connor Bedard's playing on. I mean, him, Nazar, and Bertuzzi have been an incredible line to watch. Seth Jones, even Seth Jones has been playing too bad with them. He's just taking a lot of shots, not passing him some points, but you really wonder, like, is there something deeper going on? As you said, I expect them to be big players coming up.
Yeah, the only problem is that Tyler Bertuzzi has like no finish, and he can't finish off a play. So
He has some odd goals. You see him just get down low, pretty much 2 hands on his blade.
yeah, with no tape on the top of his stick. All right, Cale, your thoughts on this whole ordeal?
I think Rantanen was trying to take too much money, considering they also have to bring back Makar, which I think they were saving that huge contract for him, which is well deserved. He obviously needs that money. You can't let a guy like that go. But I don't really get the Blackhawks spending $5 million to get their own draft pick back, especially for like a third. But just down the line, it'll clear up that space. And yeah, like you said, I didn't really think about that. Like, you can offer sheet now. Like, you get that whole window open, because people were thinking that Mason McTavish could get offer sheeted, which that would be crazy. McTavish and Bedard reunited there. Yeah, I think if Carolina is able to re-sign Rantanen, I think they would have won that trade. Obviously, Rantanen, I think, is a top 10 player in the league. So it's, yeah, and Marty Necas, obviously a bit younger. Obviously, another 40 assist guy already. He's playing fantastic. He's got McKinnon now, so only time will tell how that plays out, I guess.
Yeah, and obviously, like, this is a big trade for now, but unless you win the cup, it almost looks like a waste of time if he doesn't resign, and if he goes out in free agency this summer. So
Just like when they got Jake Gensel.
Yeah, they tend to do this every now and then.
yeah, and it doesn't work out. Little news from Kevin Weeks here. Keep an eye out on with the return of Drew Doughty to the LA Kings. Clarke, he leads the team in points by D, but appears to be a healthy scratch tonight with Drew Doughty in the lineup. So perhaps the Kings are setting up something there.
They won't trade Brent Clarke.
I mean, that would be a risky trade.
Drew Doughty's how old? $11 million. He cannot. Brent Clarke's your future. You don't trade him.
Yeah.
You let him mentor under Doughty.
I agree, but I mean, that would be crazy. I don't even know what you would get in return for a young guy like
Elias Pettersson.
To the Kings.
I can't see it.
Yeah, that team's got they got a playoff caliber team if they don't run into Edmonton in the first round again. But if they want to make a push, like, now would probably be their chance, I would think. So
I mean, they're in a weird spot because they have like guys like Kopitar and Doughty who are old, but they also have Quentin Byfield.
They have some really good guys.
They're a weird team dynamic where they could be good right now and then good in 5 years.
Yeah, they're right in the middle. Yeah, although I would get rid of Byfield before Brent Clarke, though.
Yeah. I don't know. He's not had the year you may be thinking. And I mean, even Lafreniere, that draft class is.
Yeah, that draft class is
that's a whole
not pretty.
different issue, though.
Yeah.
All right. The topic Dylan's been waiting for all day here. Anaheim Ducks. As you mentioned, Mason McTavish is heating up very well over the last couple of weeks, and I, for one, would like to see him offer sheeted when his contract is up. Personally, I think offer sheets are amazing. You see him more recently now. McTavish was the second star of the week, alongside David Pastrnak and Barrett Hayden of Utah and Boston, respectively. McTavish was the second star of the week with, how many points did he have?
He had 5 goals, I believe.
5 goals in 5 games. 5 goals, 5 points in 3 games. So no assists in those 3 games, but 5 goals.
He had another goal and assist last night.
So he's adding it up. So
and I think I'm going to address the obvious. The Ducks' wonderful coach, who's very smart, decided to call a player you drafted 3rd overall a third liner. And he has scored 5 goals since.
So it's the coach's fault.
Well, I think he actually did. I think he stumbled into greatness. That's what I think. I've always loved McTavish. He's a great player. I think it's just that Greg Cronin kept changing the line so much. I think they found something that worked. The last 3 games, they've scored 16 goals, I believe.
They're on who's that line? And who's the line?
I think he's with Cutter and Fabry, I believe.
And so it's just Fabry and McTavish, because Cutter doesn't score goals.
Cutter got a goal yesterday. I don't know what you're talking about. But I mean, that line, I guess they got Zebras back.
Yep.
3-1 since he's come back. I think he got a goal and assist in a few game, I believe, against someone's Predators.
Yeah, they ran through Nashville. Oh my God.
And in that game too, Gibson did go down.
Yeah.
But I believe he's back. I think he'll be starting tomorrow against Calgary. And I mean, I think like the thing with the Ducks, it's crazy because they are 20-0-1 or 0-2 when they score more than 3 goals in a game.
Wow.
Like, that is absurd.
Yeah.
and then they have only won one game when they don't score 3 goals.
Wow.
So if they maybe learned how to score with the goaltending they've had, I mean, even Dawson had an iffy game last game, but Drew Bauer exists.
Yeah.
So
I know you don't personally really enjoy Zegras like that much. Like, you're not a huge fan of him, but would you like to see the Ducks try and move him, or would you think they keep him?
I think they'll keep him. I think he's playing with Leo Carlsson right now. If you can kind of get those two going, like they've got a weird dynamic. They have some players in the cap that, like Killorn, $6 million for a few more years. That's not good. But I mean, if you can just get Zegras actually playing his role, like you can't use him as a defensive two-way winger. You use him to score goals.
Yeah.
So I think they'll keep him. I think he'll kind of be that top. I don't think he'll be as good as maybe people thought after his first 2 years, but maybe he'll Michigan his way to a cup one day.
Yeah.
The Taylor Swift effect's gonna happen with Dixie D'Amelio, and you know it. You know it.
Hayes.
Yeah, I don't really care for the Ducks, I'm not going to lie, but I think if they were to move players, I would move Zegras, I would move Gibson. Those would be the two guys I would get out of there. I would try my heart out to keep McTavish. That guy, I think he's so slept on. Big body, can score some goals. Obviously Team Canada bias, but...
He's obviously a third liner according to the head coach.
Yeah.
That was insane, actually.
I think that the time to move Gibson would be now, but if you look at their AHL, their goaltending, like it's the complete opposite.
They don't have anyone to replace.
It's play or dance. They cannot make stops.
Yeah.
So
if Carolina wants that cup push, I think they could use a guy to upgrade their goaltending if Freddie goes down again.
Which will happen.
Yeah.
But give him 2 games.
Death taxes and Freddie Anderson getting hurt.
Yeah, for long term. It's never just a couple games. He's always missing months at a time.
Yeah. All right, getting into some Four Nations talk here. Alex Pietrangelo from Vegas, he's withdrawn from the tournament and with an ailment. Yet he's been playing regularly, normal minutes, everything with the Vegas Golden Knights. So obviously it's not a huge problem for him, and obviously he probably just wants to stay back home. But with that, I fear this might become a theme or an issue the closer and closer we get to the tournament. It's not the Olympics, and like even if it was, we've seen season-ending injuries with teams before and players, especially bigger names. You don't want to see them get hurt at these sorts of events. So you have to wonder if they might hold back, and teams might not want their players to go, or the players won't want to go. But we haven't seen that yet. We've only seen Alex drop out, so maybe it won't be a theme. But before I get to who should replace him, what are your guys' thoughts on the Four Nations tournament as a whole?
I mean, like the All-Star game, I think it's going to be weird because the All-Star game is pretty like non-contact, all fun. I'm expecting this to be like some hard-hitting hockey. I mean, I think today, Bill Guerin, obviously the Wild in Toronto, he went to Treliving in Toronto and Matthews and got full confirmation that he will be in the tournament. Obviously, Matthews been dealing with some injuries this year, so maybe same situation, but he's obviously committed to play. I mean, kind of just maybe hope maybe a goalie for Canada or two is suffering from an ailment so we can get some
better goalies.
Logan Thompson or Mackenzie Blackwood, who've been incredible.
Yeah,
so,
I'll get into that a little bit, but yeah, the reason I mentioned players kind of just deciding to dip out of the tournament and stuff, there was a report, as players pull out of Four Nations face-off, NHL Deputy Commissioner Billy Daly tells me, and the league will not apply the same policy as for the players that skip All-Star games. Players who pull out of the All-Star game must miss 1 game immediately before or after the break, and it doesn't seem to be the case for the Four Nations tournament, at least right now. So I wonder if that'll play a factor, if teams or players care. But I'm concerned that this could become an issue, and with just injuries and everything, and players maybe not caring to play because it's not the Olympics. But at the same time, players love to represent their countries in any way they can, and typically it's just the teams that kind of become the ones blocking it. But yeah, I don't know. Hayes?
Yeah, obviously, like if the one thing I could see going wrong with this is they treat it like it's an all-star game, which it shouldn't, because you're not repping your team, you're repping your country. And I think that means more to players. And obviously, like, it should be an ego thing, right? You're against the best of the best, the world's top players in the league on this planet. You should go out there and try to prove you're better than the next guy. Like, even if you're on the same team as some other guys, you want to go out there, make it as competitive as possible. But again, risk of injury factors, and I don't know, I think it's all crap. Just go out there and play hockey. You get paid millions of dollars to do it, so.
Yeah.
But then obviously recently, I think as of today, like Samuel Erson's in.
Yeah.
Like he is obviously a massive downgrade from Jacob Markstrom. I think you would know that as a Flyers fan. That guy's Swiss cheese. But maybe just can't wait for Cale Makar, Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon just to rip him to shreds.
Yeah.
So.
Samuel Anderson's not getting in games. Unless there's more injuries, he's going to be the third string. There's no way.
Is he still better than Samuel Montembeault, though?
Yes.
Oh, God.
Yeah, getting into the goalies here. Did Canada bring the wrong goaltenders? And honestly, they've been making a lot of bad roster choices lately between World Juniors and Four Nations. I know it's not the same management, but like you look at the roster choices here, and it's just not pretty. I wanted to get into the goalies here. I have some stats.
I think the one pick they missed on was Montembeault. He had that one great game at the start of the year, and I feel like that solidified it for him, which that was a problem because he's been absolutely terrible recently.
Even Darcy Kemper's been better than him this year.
Oh, for sure.
And Logan Thompson, Joel Hofer, Cam Talbot's been better, Jake Allen, Stuart Skinner. But looking at the top goalies in save percentage, Canadian goalies in save percentage, Logan Thompson is second with a 925. Even Joel Hofer, 906. Cam Talbot, 906. Even Marc-Andre Fleury's a 904. Skinner and Hill are both ahead of Montembeault, who has an 899. He's not even above 900, and he's going for Team Canada, which I think is a joke. Even Binnington is an 898. I mean, like, yeah, some of them have winning history, and Binnington has a cup. But looking at Logan Thompson and what he's doing this year, he should be the clear number one. And sending Montembeault is ridiculous to me.
I think they almost picked teams too early. That's like the thing.
That's another thing too. They picked him like almost 2 months.
Not even. They picked him like October, I think.
Yeah.
Like they picked him early. That's kind of just an issue of not having like a full stale. I mean, like even the All-Star games, they don't pick till January.
Yeah.
Like why not pick? Like obviously you had your three that you'd always gonna bring from like I think June even.
Yeah.
But like that's like Connor McDavid. Of course you're gonna bring him.
Yeah.
But I mean goaltending, that's just. I mean obviously it's like stats are tough because I mean Montembeault isn't a worse team. Thompson isn't the best team, but like you're gonna be playing like Auston Matthews on a line with like Tkachuk.
Yeah.
That line will get chances. If Montembeault is like Swiss cheese.
Yeah, and
I wouldn't be surprised if he's like Ersson and just doesn't play.
Thompson's one of the reasons the Caps are where they are. Thompson's been electric this year.
He's I think even in Vegas, like you've seen it. Like if he didn't have that injury, I think he could have been the guy other than Hill that led them to the cup.
Yeah.
He is an incredible goalie.
Yeah. Cale, your thoughts?
Yeah, they picked early. I don't mind Binnington being on the team because he has been in those big situations, and as we know, he's got that cup in 2019 or whenever it was. But yeah, Logan Thompson, one of the biggest snubs I think I've ever seen. He's lost like 2 games in regulation this year. He's been unreal. And even for the Capital success, even Charlie Lindgren, he's been solid as well.
Yeah. Both
wrong catching goaltenders. I guess they're on their rise. So, yeah, and to replace Pietrangelo, anybody but Bouchard. And I think we need shutdown guys, considering we do have Montembeault in.
Yeah.
So, like a guy like Chris Tanev, I think he can lock up the best of them. So,
I think he'll be Uyghur. Like I really think he'll be Uyghur because he's played for Canada before. He had that great IHF like World Championship, right-handed shot. I mean I think he'll be Uyghur.
Yeah.
Or even Drew Doughty.
I was just about to say Drew Doughty. He's back now, and he'll have like a bit of time to showcase and see if he's comfortable back in. But Team Canada is very interested in Drew Doughty. They have been even before they started picking teams, and obviously he got injured, but they were still very interested in him. But yeah, I have guys like Bouchard, Doughty, Hamilton, Weegar, Tanev, Montour. Doughty's probably my favorite, but I also don't know if he wants to go. Like, that's a risky choice.
Coming off that serious of an ankle injury, like I think your main concern is like getting ready for playoffs at that point. I mean, that's what Pietrangelo was obviously with his injury. I can definitely, if it's Bouchard, I think McDavid had a big say in that. I think like you already have Cale Makar being your QB1 on the power play.
Yeah.
And I think that's Bouchard's kind of specialty.
Yeah, I don't think Bouchard really fits, and like you probably want a good defenseman that like similar to Pietrangelo, and Bouchard doesn't fit that role, I don't think.
I think that's kind of weird. Like he has that offensive upside, but he's like solid in his own zone.
Yeah.
Bouchard will get danced by everybody on Team USA.
I'd say maybe add Bouchard if you're missing a forward, but
yeah, exactly.
Okay, I want to do a couple fun little segments here. Between you guys, could you name 6 current players that could become unanimous Hall of Famers?
like currently, like, are we going to consider Carey Price because he's still under contract?
He's still under contract, but I'll say currently playing.
Okay.
Like as of this year.
I think we're going to get the obvious two.
There's the obvious ones, yeah.
Crosby.
Ovechkin, yeah.
Okay.
I would say Kopitar.
That's a choice, but I mean, like even like international play, like Slovenia, like that's come from there and be that stilled.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Patrick Kane, like he's gonna be
Gainer's going. So.
Gainer's going. Can we maybe see Marc-Andre Fleury? Like, I mean, he has won the Vezina. He's won 3 cups. I mean, he wasn't the backstop.
There's no way he doesn't go.
Yeah, he'd go for sure.
I think even Jonathan Quick goes.
Quick goes.
He will.
Quick goes.
Doughty, I think Doughty could definitely be one. He's won the cups. I think he's won a Norris. He's been.
Yeah. Cale Makar is going to the Hall of Fame.
Are you guys intentionally skipping over like the
Connor McDavid
McDavids of the world?
But we're more focused on like the guys.
The
Like if
older guys.
they're more likely to retire more quickly because Connor McDavid, he got into the Hall of Fame the second he's drafted. Like
some could say Connor Bedard.
Yeah, well,
but nobody wants to say
he had a nasty goal yesterday.
He did.
Yes.
Do not know how that went in.
That he did. I could see Vasilevsky going to the Hall of Fame.
Oh, I think Kucherov too. Even like those guys, like the cups they've.
There's
won.
so many potential Hall of Famers in the
league right
there's
a lot.
It's unreal.
But they didn't like people like Alex McGillney.
Yeah.
Very like struggle to get in.
Yeah, it's hard to like break them down.
I mean, how skilled the league is. Like.
Yeah, I think Vasilevsky was actually the goalie of this generation. Over Carey Price.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
if he didn't have the knee injury.
Price had that incredible season in 2015, and then I mean he's been a good goalie, but.
Yeah, Vasilevsky, I just think he's won more. I think like even a Conn Smythe, he's got a couple cups. He's been unreal. Obviously, age catching up to him. As much as I love Carey Price, nobody really looks at Andrei Vasilevsky for what he did.
That's very true. All right, that's all for the podcast today. Thank you for joining us as always. Huge shout out to the crew back stage as well. People behind the cameras. Greatly appreciate the support. Hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll be back next week, hopefully with something big, but we'll keep you updated on that. As always, check out all of our socials, and you can find this podcast anywhere you listen. Till next time, always dump and chase.